All right. Hey, everybody. Joey here again. Today we've got, let me get the right screen up here. All right. People can see you, Jeremy. We're on. This is Jeremy Sahlman, CEO, founder, Black Math, brilliant agency in the Northeast. I'll let you talk,
Not
Jeremy.
CEO.
You guys don't have fancy titles?
I think my title is like maybe executive creative director, but really I'm just creative. One of many creative directors that also clicks some buttons that other people I don't even know. Sorry.
So we've got Jeremy on. He's also a co founder of Darkblock, where I work, where you're watching. Um, all right. I guess that's it. That was the whole intro, Jeremy. That's how we start. Jeremy, who are you? Where'd you come from? Where are you right now?
Welcome. My name's Jeremy Sahlman. Let's see. Me and Joey work together at Darkblock. Joey, I want to say first that I really like these live streams. You just started winging them and doing them, and like, I think it's amazing. And it's like, just one of the, I don't know, it's just like obviously helping our community and exposing things, even if they're not getting a ton of views. It's like we're practicing constantly, and I really appreciate this thing that you do because it's awesome. But yeah, my name's Jeremy. I live in Maine. I used to live in Los Angeles for a long time, 7 years, and I worked in like TV commercials and movies and doing 3D mostly, and then was a creative director at another agency, and then went to the woods in Maine where I got bored and got no jobs. And so I started my own company with my partner Evan called Black Math, and we are a design, animation, merging tech type of company that is mostly artists. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. I have a friend who was here in Austin for years. A beautiful human named Will Eichard. He moved up to Maine to maybe you guys are sitting a duck blind together. I don't know if you guys are fishing or whatever you do in Maine. Um, uh, Interesting thing about Will, Walter Cronkite's grandson, an amazing human. I can't wait to vote for him for president someday. Okay,
Walter.
Jeremy, um,
Cool.
crypto. I'm curious about. All right, so you're a creative. You've worked in kind of the old media, I guess, television, commercials, all that. Um, what was the first NFT you purchased? What was it like? What got you into this strange world?
Yeah, it was definitely not purchasing NFTs. I'm not a big buyer of things, which is kind of counterintuitive to whatever. But it first started with I got some email that I thought was a scam from someone asking me to animate things, and they said, well, we can't pay you that much, but we'll give you a percentage, and it's going to be like really worth your while. And I was
Yeah,
like, I don't really know what this is. This was like 3 years ago almost, and but we had a little downtime and the artwork was cool that they had. And so we're like, all right, we'll try it out. And this was a collection called Bitcoin Origins on Wax. Uh, um, and yeah, it ended up like snowballing, and we helped them do some strategy and kind of, because we're pretty good at like thinking about how to activate communities and, like drive engagement and stuff like that just through like design thinking more or less. So anyways, we worked with their team expanded, they ended up getting funded, became a whole nother thing. Now they have a marketplace on Flow. But that was kind of my intro to like what is all of this stuff. It was just like watching that journey unfold and contributing in a bunch of ways. And then that led to another project that we've worked on, which is definitely stalled right now. So that project is also owned by Bitcoin Origins, but we are basically the people that take care of it. That's Tezos Origins, and that's definitely a little stalled at the moment, but is hopefully going to come back, before you know it. So that was my intro, and then through that, I ended up working with the Tezos Foundation on another marketplace that was just onboarding traditional artists and that marketplace is now gone as well. But it was a lot of just strategy, like, like, how am I as a celebrity going to release NFTs over time? And, we do strategy for marketing campaigns and for media. And so to do it for engaging a community or like releasing art was very, very similar. So we did a lot of calendars for celebrities. Hey, this is how you're going to release, like, you want to be in fashion and music, and you want your NFT collection to represent like your taste in that and give like some utility back to your community. This is our recommendation for that. And we do sort of like a big strategy pack for some people. Or like, you're an artist, you're coming into the space, like, do you want your art to move? We'll take care of that. We'll also take care of how the whole collection potentially drops and then like coordinates with a show at the end or something, so just kind of like a strategic partner to a bunch of people. So that's how I got my start. And then I called my cousin, Chris, so who's our boss at Darkblock. And I said, Chris, I don't really know what we should do, but NFTs are like banging hard right now. And you know that you want to do another startup, because he had moved from like 2 or 3 startups into a job. And he was just itching to do something else. And we started talking about NFTs, and that's what led to Darkblock. It's like a lot of conversations, a lot of changes over the time. But yeah, here we are. That's my story. Was that too long?
No, that's awesome. So these NFT projects, like projects that I run into, it's not uncommon where you want to engage with an artist and I don't have any money to pay you, and we'll hook you up with a percentage, and that just means how many
we've
times
turned down a ton of them since then. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very careful. Yep.
Those guys won the lottery that you because it's
well,
it's hard.
they did a good job too. Like, they were incredibly engaged with their community. They really tried to give back to them. But the thing about some of those projects is like, there's not ever necessarily an end, and so even that project in the end, it ended up not being as profitable, I think, for them. And and they reprioritized some stuff, and it's like, some people had a great ride and enjoyed it, but like does it keep going forever? I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things when I think about projects too. Like, I don't want to add utility to anything if I do something on my own, because like you're potentially never done working. Like you're starting a business as much as you're starting a community in some of those
100%.
cases. Scary. So I'm definitely in it for the art, but I think that the businesses and the communities that are being built, like there are many of them that will last for eternity, and I think that that's just really cool too. So
I'm curious about, as being a proper agency that Black Math is. You're not going, I don't know, what, Chiat Day or whatever the big famous agencies. I don't think they're taking on NFT projects. I might be wrong. Maybe they did those Matt Damon commercials. Do you position yourselves as kind of a crypto-friendly, progressive agency where you're kind of bringing old brands into the new world?
Nope. So, I mean, in theory, we're not even really an agency. What we are is a production company with chops, I would say. So with strategy. So we don't typically we are not the agency of record for any brands. We are really a creative partner to marketing departments at much bigger companies. We do execution. We may take on the strategy and the execution for like all of your videos for the entire year and tell you how to use your marketing budget to best meet the goals of your company.
Yep.
But we don't go in and like interview everyone in your company and decide how everyone wants to, whatever. Like that's not our role. Our role is to be artists and to be strategic artists. And we do that, with animation, with video, with AR, with technology. But yeah, I mean, I think you've seen it too. Like we're not marketing. We're definitely not a marketing agency. That's a very different thing than what we do. We're a bunch of artists fooling around who are pretty smart, I think. Except for me, I'm the dumb one.
You are a very. I've worked with a lot of agencies here in town. There's some big guys. It's all relative, right? Everything seems to happen in Manhattan, right? Like all my big meetings with agencies were in New York, and you wind up with these kind of fat accounts, and you have these fat teams working on a campaign, but you seem to be focused on that creative instead of, how many people can I get on this. It's refreshing. Can I share a
Well, it's
screen?
interesting too. I always define agencies in or production companies in two buckets. There's creative owned ones,
Mm-hmm.
and there's sort of like producer owned ones or like executive owned ones. And there it's a very different uh, what you the money that you're willing to spend on projects if they're creatively rewarded is very different depending on which one you work for, and the risks that you're willing to take and the people that you're willing to help. I'm not like, I've kind of become a businessman, but really I just want to make cool stuff, and I want my team to be able to make cool stuff. And I feel the most rewarded now when I see like everyone else on my team be like, oh my God, this project was so fun to work on. Look what we made. And like, sometimes the budget is good and sometimes it's terrible, but like that joy that you get, I basically call, there's this bucket that I define as creative capital. And it's on my list actually to turn that into a thing that everyone else can see on our spreadsheets. But it's basically a bucket of money that we are willing to spend as an agency on things that just are fun to work on or will reward us in some other way. And so we spend that stuff all the time, and then our clients that we don't need to spend it on, they fill that bucket up for us as well, so it's all this cyclical, like, we want to work on art, and we want everything to be as artful as we hopefully can, as it can be, for us. So I don't.
No, amazing. Let me share. Let's see if I can share a screen here. Let's see if I can make this transition work. Let's see. Come on, I did it. All right. So, like
Homepage.
your homepage, right? Talk about this Athena thing. I was like,
all right, wait. First, before you go here, so we're reworking our homepage. It's flipped back and forth between our mood page and our regular page consistently. But if you go to our mood page,
yep.
and then you go into playground, this is really like, to me, represents more of like what we do and who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, eventually our homepage will look more like this. Like what's the dump of all the most fun or funny or like exciting things that we've done. Like I strongly believe that like getting a taste for the studio is just as important for getting a taste for the work that they can create, because you're entering into a partnership. So, just so you know, that's, and studios like ours too, we always used to lead with our reel, and that's become less important, but our reel is on the about page, and that's really kind of, it's outdated now, but whatever. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about projects too, whatever you want to talk about.
No, I'm just fascinated. I'm just for my little nosiness. End of the year, people are kind of worried about their budgets. Spending whatever's left, and that's usually the fun time because it's time to play. Like take a flyer. We want to do an NFT promotional drop or something. Do you guys see that as well? Like towards the end of the year, we've got to spend this budget, so we're gonna go do something funky.
Yeah, there's always a couple of tight deadlines right before Christmas, but before the holiday season in the U.S. So absolutely, that's been true. I mean, through pandemic, honestly, we had no slow times. Like it was actually pretty crazy, and it's just slowed down again this summer for the first time since pandemic, really. So we're all taking a breather. We're working on pushing out some portfolio pieces or some recaps of these really huge projects that we completed over the last year and a half. But it's just beginning to ramp. The calls are starting to stream in, so I'm sure that we'll be pretty busy coming into fall and winter. Yeah.
Calls. That's like the phone's ringing. Like
that's right. The phone calls.
This is the Tezos origins. So you guys worked on the art. Like like, are you firing up the tablet and drawing these things? I'm just for my nosiness.
Yeah. So for this project, it was a grant that the Bitcoin Origins team got from Tezos Origins, asking them to sort of bring the same type of project over to Tezos. And we sat on it for a long time because it was really before Object existed. There was Calumet was really the first marketplace that could support this type of project. And so we partnered with them, and they've been a little dark recently. Like, they were going to roll out a collections contract for us, which didn't end up happening, and some other stuff. So, and then with the market turning down too, it all stalled. But we are continuing to work on the art. But the really cool thing was, we spent a lot of time researching and learning all about the history of Tezos and about Arthur and Kathleen and how they sort of, like, some struggles that they went through. And if you look at the roadmap, we've basically outlined every drop, like this chapterized series of drops for this project. And the story is incredible and amazing. And it's really just about sort of like picking this whole thing back up. But we like, every card has a story behind it. We did make all the artwork. We made all the animation. We're working on a new contract right now, in the meantime, to sort of like bring this thing, just to resurface this thing and restart it up. But, it's definitely, it has to fit in between jobs that pay the bills as well. It's a lot of effort to kick something like this off. Like, there's different ways of launching projects. One's like, hey, I'm going to pour some resources into a big collection, and that's going to crowdfund my project, and I'm going to spend that money, and maybe I'll do a great job and maybe I won't. And this type of collection, and what Bitcoin Origins really did, was they truly built something slowly. And that's where, like, pack opening and slowly expanding the community, slowly expanding how many cards were offered. Like, this is a very different strategy. And honestly, I think a really awesome one, because you only get rewarded if you put the work in, like, this is truly what it means to be, to sort of like build slowly, in my, whatever. I feel like I'm rambling, but,
You're not, you're doing great.
But yeah, like, want to bring this back for sure.
I'm curious, like, the kind of I don't know what you call it, like the color palette thing here. You see that when people are going to print things. Was there a thought that this was going to live in the physical world too?
So this was our way of showing that something was a work in progress.
Okay.
We were just like, let's just put up, like a little color, we wanted to show that these were proofs, not final artwork.
Yeah.
As we began to drop them, because there's variations of each one too, and different rarities of each card. So, just kind of a, I don't know, creative exercise.
No, I love it. Like, I've had in my life, I've worked at places where we printed cards, and then we had, back when casual gaming was a thing, we would have digital and physical cards, but I don't think that is a thing anymore.
Dude, I hope it's going to be a thing, like Magic the Gathering deck building games, like that. Like, NFTs are perfect for that, like, they're absolutely perfect. And I think, our tech too, Darkblock, has a huge potential win there too, because, like, some of your deck you want to be visible, some of your deck you don't want to be visible. Adding specific traits, like we were talking about this the other day, like a racing game where you want to add cool features to your car, but maybe you also want to add features that, like, people don't know about. So, I'm going to add a turbo to my, like, old Volvo car, but I don't want people to know this thing's a sleeper, Right. So there's so many. It's just really cool to just think about how all of this stuff can work. I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. So, like, this was your, a ton of the work. The video you all did, which is just
NFT, non-fungible token, aka a JPEG of a pickle that costs $1 million.
Like, this is next
a lot of
level.
creative capital. A lot of creative capital dumped into that video. It was really fun to make something, where I was the client, I guess, really. Or, Darkblock was the client, so it was fun.
But we don't see stuff like this level of production, when I was interviewing, the black math work was like sealed the deal. Like, who are these guys? How are they contributing to, what Darkblock is doing? So you kind of, and our software better live up to how it's being presented with the black math creative. So that part I always thought was fun. One thing that you did, and we'll show off, here we go, is you built a bunch of use cases for us. Basically, one of our challenges is Darkblock is a protocol. It's kind of this, it can be a lot of things depending on how you use it. So if you're a OnlyFans type site, we can block some of this content or create blocks.
Oh, let's talk about some of those. I mean, that's what I like. To me, it is a puzzle. Like, how do you build all of these things that exist in Web 2 and Web 3? Like, that is, and do they benefit from our technology? That is this amazing puzzle that I love solving when I lay in bed every single night. And to me, so like OnlyFans, for instance, it's so interesting having, because we got a lot of inbound, obviously, about not safe for work content. There's probably 10 people that I can count that like come to mind immediately that want to build something like this. Mm-hmm. And it's a really interesting problem because there is access control involved. There can be ownership involved, but there's also privacy involved as well. Like, you don't actually want everyone to own everything, but you still potentially really benefit from having things on chain because you can build these new interesting models for access that can exist in Web 2. In Web 2, you build on a platform, like you're just at the bay of that platform, and maybe they have all of the fans and it's a great discovery tool, and that's amazing. But like, let's talk about Substack, for instance, as a use case. Like, I love that use case because right now Substack, you go there, you subscribe, you can read someone's work. Maybe they're releasing comic books on Substack. Maybe they're releasing a paper. That's awesome. Why would you ever want to move that to Web 3? Well, if you're a storyteller, the way that stories are told, like now, more and more and more, is so complex and intricate. And I personally would not want to limit my creations to just being read. Like, I want to build an ecosystem that can exist in like so many different ways. I'm not just I do actually do some writing and, for my job. And I imagine, my brain, whatever. I'm like always thinking about these things. But when we watched who was the guy who had the face mask on that you interviewed? Do you remember from Renegade Comics? Was that him?
Yeah.
So like, I just love that their entire storytelling model is built off of some other ecosystem.
Right.
And it's fucking incredible. Right. That is the promise. That's why people should want to engage their fans on Web3, because then their fans can build on top of their work if they want, or they can create like new ways of accessing stuff if they want, it's so cool. I think, sorry, I ranted there for a second.
It is about the remix, so you talk about whether it's the Substack or Medium or the Patreon model or all these Web 2E things where, like, I thought we learned our lesson to not give, the majority, or to give a huge chunk of our content creation money to 5 companies. I thought we learned that. But I guess we haven't, because
they bring the fans that, they bring
that's
the
it,
audience.
The network effect. They have the audience already coming by, the recommends or suggests, or, the people are walking through that front door. And you're hoping that they're going to look at me, they're going to promote me, and then next thing you know, I'm everywhere. You don't really get that in Web3 land as much. You've got, Walmart and Target that you can go visit. If you go off the path a little bit, there's not as much as an audience, and you rely on community or some sort of built-in group fan base, so it's, yeah.
Well, I think that one thing that we will need too is we need people to follow more recipe. Like we need people to build these recipes for how something can be done. Like we saw POAP exist, and now how many people are building NFT ticketing solutions? Like dozens and dozens of them. And so it's really just about like a few people showing other people like, hey, this is a sustainable thing. And once you have multiple people building with a similar recipe, then discoverability becomes possible too. Like there are notifications in the wallets, in many wallets now. As we know, we've talked to a bunch of wallets that as potential partners. But like once you understand like, hey, this community offers this thing, I now can figure out that other communities are offering that thing too, but it's their flavor of it, like then you can discover stuff, so it's really just about offering people these recipes, seeing more and more people build on them, evolving them, and then you can let people figure out how to discover this stuff maybe, I don't know.
No, 100%. I mean, that was part of what this project was about, what all the work that Black Math has done. Like, Big Buck Bunny you didn't create, but this whole Buddy project, and you built a comic book. There's a movie, there's songs, and the idea is, all right, so you are a creator that wants to distribute a comic book. Here's how we think. Here's the IKEA model room on what that dorm room looks like, but you got to remix it. But we have the tools, so the unlockables and the value that we give, where not everything's right-click save. You reward the people who pay money to be part of your community with content. Okay. I do.
Yeah. I love how like we do the same thing, right? Like you get into this train of thought, and then you're like, wait, am I going anywhere? Do I need to close this thought out? Okay, I'll stop it right away. Like, oh, it also sounds like someone's peeing in my office because it's pouring outside, and apparently it's now pouring inside too. The water's just drained. So no one's peeing in here. Don't worry.
I don't hear anything. I have headphones.
Leak, apparently.
Today's the first day of fall, and down here in Austin, I think we'll get close to 100. So, whatever.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the use cases that we build are so like, it's honestly, I love like that metaverse comic. That's Kevin. He started as an intern, I think 9 months ago, maybe. Just like an incredible illustrator. I was like, Kevin, can you make us a comic for this use case? And he sketched this thing up. I have all the process that he made for this too. I mean, it's fucking awesome.
I want those to be like, can we have like the pencils or whatever the equivalent is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we have all the versions. You could put those in there too, because and yeah, absolutely. I'll add those to the use case.
Those are the unlockables. Just online this week, there's a motion artist, DK. If you looked at
DK Motion, yep, know him well.
Amazing work, like just beautiful. And he showed kind of a behind the scenes how he made the latest, NFT, and it's like, attach that to the NFT so that transfers for everybody who owns it for the next 100 years. Like there's value to the story. The story isn't purely the painting; it's like how you got there. I want to know that.
Well, and I think too. I mean, so you like Skillshare is obviously a cool platform, but that platform in general, I'm not sure how discoverable stuff is on that platform. I think it's mostly, in my industry at least, artists pushing their communities. Hey, I did this thing. Go check it out. There is no reason that should not be just an NFT with the content behind it. You keep it on your site. You own the artwork. You either you sell it or you rent access to it. But then Skillshare should be the person saying like, hey, I'd love to purchase that content. Can I put it on my site? I'll give you a cut of everyone. I mean, that really is like the curation of content is what I'm so excited about eventually with Darkblock, because like we talk about like the New York Times did content gating with NFTs as a test, right? They used Unlock Protocol to gate like a subscription more or less, which from their perspective, that's great. It removes credit card fees. From the user perspective, is it any better than like another subscription service? Like, Maybe if it's cheaper, I'm not sure. But the future that I imagine is that all writers who potentially want to contribute, like write an article, the NFT is the forward of that article, but the content is stored below the NFT. And anyone can publish that as long as they, agree to the contractual obligations that the creators set. So it's like, hey, Joey wrote an article about like chicken butts. I really think that my audience would love that. He wants 70% of all consumption fees that I get from that. And then I've also got to pay his community this much too, because they gave him money to write that article. Like, all right, chicken butts is going up on, chicken times or whatever, like that is going to be powerful and going to be amazing. And I don't want to go to the New York. There's too much stuff there. I just want to read about chicken butts. So I just want to go to the guy who curates all the chicken butt content, personally, or chicken content or whatever,
I feel like you've been in my browser history. I'm a little bit worried that you were so targeted with my chicken butts love. This thing, and then about the remix. So we some of the art that Black Math has created, kind of remixed through the AI machine via Reykjavik.
Okay, can I just say, so we had one image, and then Roggy, who's like a super savant art nerd that works for Darkblock, was like, hey, I'm going to create 10,000 unique one of whatever. And then he does it with some, I showed this to everyone who worked on this project too, because this actually came from our creative brains for another thing. And then Louis, who designed that whole project, made this 2D version for our use case. And he's just like, what the hell? How did he make all of, and it's, AI, we're all fucked, basically, is what we all decided. So.
I think it's another tool. I'm sure the guy who used to set type with manually with the metal, he saw, Photoshop, and he was like, no, we're all going to have jobs. It's just.
Well, you know what I hate is that I'm like, hey, these are cool. I think maybe I would buy some. And then fuck, the computer just made all, this is a Photoshop filter. I'm not going to buy, so whatever. It's just a Photoshop filter. In 10 years, people will recognize it and go nope, maybe, who knows? Or that we'll all love, it's really cool that creating digital art too has become so accessible. I was in a room, people talking about FX Hash just the other day, and how easy it is to create and make something that you feel that you truly contributed to. Yeah. And you're moving around sliders and you're obviously contributing in some way, but at the end of the day, is it a Photoshop filter, or is that just art for the masses? Like paintable pottery. You made that thing. You feel really good. A lot of people go to a pottery place to paint pots. And I'm like, that's so fucking stupid. What, you painted that pot? But it's also super relaxing and fun. And you feel special. And, I think AI is just a way for, we're just seeing those tools basically evolve for the masses so that people can make digital art too and feel good, and it doesn't have to be revolutionary. I mean, whatever. Some of it is right now, Absolutely. So yeah, I just ran. I'm like, where's my thought going? I'm saying nothing. Time to stop.
You're doing good. I do think there is a creative process. There's something that in our caveman brains, whether it is I'm starting from zero and I'm making the Sistine Chapel, or I'm playing Guitar Hero and I think I'm freaking Eddie Van Halen. There is a creative outlet, and it has different degrees, but it's the most human. I want to make something and get that out of my system a little bit there. Okay, Mr. Jeremy. NFT, creating NFT projects. I am curious about, do you guys have some top secret stuff going forward? Are you looking for projects to bring you along where you spend some of your creative capital and help some smart nerds who want to build something, but it already...
Yeah, so, basically, as an agency, what we have decided is that we need to get paid for our work. So, we don't really look at projects where people are like, hey, I want you to work on commission for this, or this could sell well. The other thing is too, there's so many people like, I understand that Web3 is cool because people don't want to be doxxed. They don't want to know who you are. But I don't think I am savvy enough to evaluate like someone's authenticity without like talking to them face to face, you know? And so I just won't get into projects like that where everyone is, you know, like non-docs basically. So there's that.
Yep.
And then really where we're focusing when it comes to Web3, if someone comes to us, mostly it's brands and products. Like, how can we give something to our community that creates engagement in a new way, that lets us like dabble our toes in this water? Like, I've had a lot of people say like, oh, when am I going to make this money back? Like, honestly, I just want to get into this because I see dollar signs. That's not the reason to get in. The reason to get in is to begin, is the reason that it makes sense to get into any tech early. You know, it's to test the waters, to dabble your feet, to do something interesting, and to associate yourself with art and this, new way of thinking, and a lot of people are afraid of that, but there's nothing to be scared of. Like, if you do it right and you're honest and you're truly just trying to do something interesting, people appreciate that and respect that. And the other thing that I always tell people too is like, you have to look at this as a strategy that exists for at least a year, ideally 2 years. Like, you're not just going to do one thing and see the rewards. Like, you need to go into this as an experiment as a brand or as a company and, try stuff out, like make cool art, be proud of what you make, and then figure out how it's going to benefit you, or slowly build that engagement over a year. Like, the one and done is not a sustainable method for brands. Like, it's like, hey, you should do an activation on this product, do an activation over here, do something else, like, but keep going. It's fun and people appreciate what you're doing, So that's always my advice.
That is the best advice. All right, Mr. Jeremy, I appreciate hanging out. I didn't get fired, which is always a good sign of a live
I have
stream.
no ability to fire you, Joey.
I still
Otherwise,
wanna
you would have
think
been gone a long time ago. Just
There
kidding.
it is. There it is. All right. and then the outro. Boom.
Five comments on this video, so that's probably a record.
Yeah.
But it's going to exist on the web forever, for better or worse. So.
It will.
Mwah.
All good. Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. I will talk to you a little bit. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.